If you want to learn how to blur in Krita, I'm going to show you the two easiest methods, a non-destructive blur using a filter mask and the fastest way to apply a Gaussian blur directly to a layer or selection. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which method to use depending on whether you want flexibility or speed. And if this tutorial helps you out, go ahead and hit like and subscribe for more Krita tips and beginner-friendly art tutorials. Let's jump in. First, let's start with the method I recommend if you think you may want to adjust the blur later. This is the filter mask method, and it's great because it keeps your original artwork safe. To begin, open Krita and look at your layers docker. Find the layer you want to blur, then right-click on that layer. From the menu, hover over Add, and then choose Filter Mask. This opens a new window where you can choose a filter to apply to the layer without permanently changing the original image. On the left side of the window, you'll see a list of filter options. Look for Blur, then select Gaussian Blur. Once you choose it, you'll see blur controls appear. Now you can set the blur radius using the sliders. A higher value creates a stronger blur, while a lower value gives you just a subtle softening effect. Take your time here and adjust it until it looks right for your artwork. When you're happy with the settings, click OK. What happens next is really useful. The blur is attached as a separate mask under your layer, which means it is non-destructive. In other words, your original layer is still there, untouched. If you want to turn the blur off, just click the eye icon next to the filter mask. If you want to bring it back later, click the eye icon again. This is perfect for experimentation, revisions, or client work where you may need to make changes later. Now let's move on to the fastest and most common way to blur in Krita. This method applies a Gaussian blur directly to the layer, and it's ideal if you want a quick result. It works really well for blurring a background, softening an image, or creating a blur effect on a specific area you've selected. To do this, go back to your layers docker and select the layer you want to blur. If you only want to blur part of the image, use a selection tool first and select the area you want. You should see the active dashed line around the selection, which tells you Krita knows exactly what part you want to affect. If you want the entire layer to blurred, you can skip the selection step. Next, go to the top menu bar and click Filter, then move to Blur and choose Gaussian Blur. A small settings window will appear on top of your canvas. Here, you'll see options for horizontal radius and vertical radius. These sliders control the strength of the blur, and the higher the numbers, the softer and more spread out the blur becomes. If you're blurring a portrait or background, start with a smaller value and increase it gradually until it looks natural. Once you're satisfied, click OK. This will apply the blur directly to the layer or selected area, so it's faster, but keep in mind it locks in the effect. That means if you want to change it later, you'll need to undo it or reapply the filter again. So if flexibility matters, use the filter mask. If you just want speed, use the direct Gaussian blur method. A quick tip before you go. If you're blurring a specific part of a design, always double check that you've selected the correct layer first. It's easy to accidentally blur the wrong element, especially when you have multiple layers stacked together. Also, if your blur looks too strong, try lowering the radius instead of applying it multiple times, because that usually gives a cleaner result. So now you know both ways to blur in Krita, the filter mask for a non-destructive workflow and Gaussian blur for quick, permanent blurring. Whether you're working on digital paintings, photo edits, or design projects, these tools give you a lot of control over your final look. If this video helped you, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next Krita tutorial. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.